Thank you, Minister Halligan, for coming into the House. You may remember you were in the House before at my request in relation to school transport, and at the time you did promise that no child would be left without a seat on the school bus. I'm afraid that is not the picture as it is today. I want to ask you specifically, in the limited time I have, why can't we have bigger buses where the provider is in a situation where he can provide a bigger bus and the department are saying no, it can't be, it can't happen. It makes no sense whatsoever. I also want to ask you in relation to Leaving Cert students. Leaving Cert repeat students don't know until the middle of August whether they have to repeat or not. Then their applications are treated as a late application. Can you please recategorise that so that they're not late applications? You have split parishes, you have split families in relation to school transport. I'm asking that that be reviewed. I want to know as well, how much exactly have you saved from these school transport cuts over the years? Because we're getting to a situation now where it's becoming less viable and less viable altogether in relation to school transport. And I'm afraid what's going to happen is the original intention was to get rid of school transport. We're now in a situation where we're making it impossible for families and for students to get on the school bus. And we have to remember that school transport is an integral part of the education system. Taking away school transport directly affects the most vulnerable students and families. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator O'Donnell.
Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach. I want to welcome Minister Halligan to the House and thank him for taking this most important debate. In the limited time I have already spoken to the Minister on the matter, but specifically in Limerick we have a specific issue in the Conway-Walsh, Ballinity, Donaghmore, Fedamore area, which is outside Limerick City, whereby students to their local school, which is St John the Baptist School in Hospital, are unable to get school transport. The circumstances, we have a unique set of circumstances. We have a common application system in Limerick City for schools. By a quirk of fate, the distance from these areas, Conway-Walsh, Ballinity, Donaghmore, Fedamore, is marginally shorter to the GPO in Limerick City than going to the school, their local school in John the Baptist, in community school in Hospital. If they applied under the common application system to schools in Limerick City, in most cases they will not satisfy the eligibility criteria for a school in Limerick City, the schools. Therefore, what I'm asking, Minister, is that you would encourage and facilitate the school transport system in Limerick County, Limerick City, Limerick County and Limerick to look at this matter. Currently there are 20 students, 20 concessions without a bus. 10 of those are concessions that were on the bus previously. 2 of the 10 were there for the last 5 years. They're going into 6th year. 2 of the 10 were there for the last 2 years, and the other 6 were there last year. That's their local school. These are parents that are under enormous pressure. It's their local school. And secondly, the other 10 are first years. And I suppose the point I want to put is we've got a unique set of circumstances in that Conway-Walsh, Fedamore, Ballinity and Donaghmore area where the parents cannot qualify for concessions to get the school bus to their local school, which is the John the Baptist School and Hospital, because they're a quirk deemed to be closer to GPO in Limerick. In most cases, the schools, they would not be eligible to get a school place. So I'd ask, Minister, that you would facilitate the solution being looked at now to get these 20 children their school places. This is a matter that will have to be looked at in more depth in future years. Thank you, Minister.
Can I thank both Senators, Senator Rose Conway-Walsh and Senator Kieran O'Donnell. First of all, I would like to provide an outline, if you like, of the extent of the school transport service that very many people may not be aware of. It's a significant operation managed by Bus Éireann on behalf of the Department. In 2017 and 2018, over 117,000 children, including 12,000 special needs, with special educational needs, were transported in over 4,500 vehicles on a daily basis to primary and post-primary schools throughout the country, covering over 100 million kilometres. with a total cost in 2017 of 190 million. Parental contributions towards the cost of the school transport were 15.4 million. So the state covers a significant cost in school transport that increases every year. Children are generally eligible for school transport if they satisfy the distance criteria and are attending their nearest school. Children who are eligible for school transport and have completed the application process on time have been accommodated on school transport services for the current year, where such services are in operation. Children who are eligible for school transport but for whom no transport service is available may, following an application for transport within the prescribed time limits, receive a remote area grant towards the cost of private transport. And that grant is calculated on miles, similar to civil servants. Children who are not eligible for school transport may apply for transport where spare seats are available after eligible children have been accommodated. This is referred to concessionary transport, where the number of ineligible children exceed the number of spare seats available. Bus Éireann will allocate tickets for the spare seats using an agreed selection process. Under the terms of the scheme, the number of spare seats varies from year to year, based on the capacity of the buses running on all of the various routes and the number of eligible children accommodated on each route. Hence, there is no guarantee that a non-eligible child who received a place the previous year will receive a seat the following year, nor is there a guarantee that a sibling of the non-eligible child who receives a ticket will receive a seat. It is included in the terms and conditions on the Bus Éireann application online that available seats may vary from year to year and that the transport for children who are not eligible cannot be guaranteed for the duration of the child's education. Can I say that under the scheme, routes cannot be altered. Additional vehicles right now will not be introduced, nor will the larger vehicles or extra trips using existing vehicles be provided or catered for children who are not eligible, as to the additional state costs will be incurred in covering the cost of providing school transport for children that are not eligible. I think it is important to say to people, and I've said this to everybody, the school transport scheme was put in place for eligible children and children with special needs. All eligible children in Ireland get school transport. There may be a click now and again in the system, something might happen with Bus Éireann, something might fall through the cracks, but we are dealing with 117,000 children. All special needs children get school transport. It is one of the best schemes in Europe. Per cost, an assessment, an independent assessment showed that for the cost of a maximum for a primary school of about 300, maximum 600 in secondary for a family, the cost of you driving, taking your car and bringing your children to school, and this was done with an independent review, 2 reviews, would be €1,200. We have not increased the cost. Our difficulty is that we started with 700 concessionary children some years ago. We are now up to 24,700 concessionary children. That we find it extremely difficult to get on the school transport buses when we have all of the eligible children who are entitled to school transport, all of the children with disability who are entitled to school transport, to get that school transport. And that's how complicated the scheme is, and that is how difficult the scheme is. And, you know, if you look at it, 99% of people are happy with school transport. 99% of families will tell you it's a good scheme and a great scheme, but it's not a scheme that does not have its faults with so many children, and the complexity of running such a scheme every day of the week, twice up and back to a school, with 4,700 vehicles throughout the country.
Well, it'll have to be very brief.
It will be very brief, and it will be very brief, Minister. The school transport system was put in place for children putting them into categories of concessionary, non-concessionary is not acceptable. We're not living in North Korea. We need some flexibility around the school transport system. It is not good enough to say, no, we won't get a seat, we won't get a bigger bus. It is disgraceful, and it is a shame on this government for what they have done, how they have followed on for Fianna Fáil in relation to the ruination of school transport, and it's not acceptable.
Thank you. Briefly.
Minister, I have a very specific question. I want to speak specifically about St John the Baptist School in Hospital in County Limerick and about the Carrick-Laois, Ballinity, Dunetmore and Fedmore areas, that what, in my view, those concessions should be eligible because of the question of us having a common application system in the city where many of these children will not be eligible for those schools anyway. Their local school is St John the Baptist School. Any educational system should facilitate children being transported to their local school. So what I'd ask, Minister, is that you would encourage and facilitate that the local bus air public transport in Limerick could look at the particular situation of the 20 children that do not have school transport at the moment at St John the Baptist, to look to see can a remedy be found now. Obviously we need to look at the system going forward, but the specific need is I have 20 children in Limerick at the moment who do not have school transport to the local school.
I'll take your question
very
first,
briefly,
Senator, very briefly. I talk to bus air in Limerick and see what the position is there, as I do all of the time talk to bus air. Regarding what you have said about, Senator, about school transport, you obviously don't know the system. The school, no, I don't think you do. Well, if you did, you would know that the school transport scheme was put into operation for children that are eligible. And let me explain, if I could explain this to you, and maybe it might help. An example, very briefly.
It has to be very brief, please.
I'd have to be very brief. A bus from an area, we'll say, where you had 15 eligible children, and that bus was a 20-seater. What we done was, rather than leave a bus go with 5 seats free, we put concessionaries on that bus. And that's why we are carrying 24,700 concessionary children. But from that particular area, the next year, if an eligible child is available, that child has a right under the scheme and the criteria laid down by the scheme to go on that bus. It's regretful that a concessionary must be taken off that bus, but I am obliged under what's laid out for me before I came into this office, and by the way, can I say that I offered representatives from all parties, some took it up, to meet school transport, to meet bus air, and I was the first minister to give out dedicated numbers in all areas of this country to anybody who wanted it from bus air and from school transport. And I think you have to look at the scheme where it is. You have to look at how many children we are carrying every day, twice a day. And there is no child that is eligible, apart from a few may have fallen through the system, but all eligible children in Ireland who are entitled to school transport get school transport.
Minister, you're saying that children of working parents don't count.
I did not say that. You're trying to be dramatic.
You can resume it another day.
You don't know the scheme.